And the scientists battling to save one of Australia's coral reefs after huge swathes of it have been bleached by high temperatures.
Let's head under the water now, because climate change is having a devastating impact on our oceans, with rising temperatures causing damage to underwater ecosystems.
We know that huge areas of coral in the Great Barrier Reef have been bleached by heat stress due to the warming ocean.
But now the Ningaloo Reef, which is on the other side of Australia, is also suffering. Our Australia correspondent Katie Watson has been there to meet the scientists who are trying to combat the problem.
Hugging the shores of Western Australia, this lush oceanic forest extends for hundreds of kilometres. Ningaloo is the largest fringing reef in the world, but it's in danger. Scientist Dr. Kate Quigley likens it to an underwater bushfire, a marine heat wave wiping out corals in its path. She showed us just how quickly the landscape's changing.
Some of the things that we were afraid of seeing have indeed come to pass. There was a bit of sick corals, a bit of dead corals, but still some healthy corals here.
Some of these are hundreds of years old. They've survived extreme weather like cyclones, but the hotter water is too much. It's making corals expel the algae that lives within their tissues and gives them their colour. And this is the result. While some corals may recover as the waters cool, many cannot. Parts of the reef have become a graveyard. Just the skeletons remain. And it's happening across Ningaloo.
We come down the coast. This part of the reef is really shallow and we're metres from the shore. You just need to stick your head in the water and it's so easy to see all of the dead and bleached coral.
This year's hotter temperatures have lingered for longer and are widespread. It's led to unprecedented damage right across the Great Barrier Reef too.
What we're really afraid of seeing, especially in the coming months, is really high levels of death. So we've had months of warming. The corals have been very stressed, so the corals can no longer hang on, so to speak, and so they're eventually dying.
For residents like Sarah, a diver and conservationist, the fear is that tourists are put off by the damage.
We don't want people to turn their back on Ningaloo. There's still amazing parts of the reef here that are worth seeing. We're still running dive tours every day. And I think it's also really important to witness what's happening and the effects of the marine heat wave that we've had.
While scientists are clear about the problem, rising carbon emissions are heating up the planet, including the oceans, they're also trying to come up with alternative ways to save the reef. Growing coral, for example, that's more heat resistant.
So you look at the colours of the coral and if they're bleached or not.
Right now, scientists are also poring over data coming out of the reef. These researchers are mapping Ningaloo by taking photos of the corals and linking them with drone images. That way they can track their health. But what's also needed are more permanent solutions.
People ask me, what can we do? So, well, first thing you can do is choose politicians that are considering reducing fossil fuels and are for renewable energies. But you can also reduce by drive less, go with public transport. Don't have your air conditioning on all the time. And these are all things that can help reduce our footprint.
Ningaloo makes this coastline unique. Just north of here, though, sit some of Australia's biggest fossil fuel projects. This country is among the world's worst polluters, struggling to balance the need for energy with saving places like this. Katie Watson, BBC News in Western Australia.
Amazing pictures, aren't they? Well, we're joined now by Professor Michael Sweet, who is head of the Aquatic Research Facility at the University of Derby. And Michael, you've been out there to Ningaloo, you've seen it up close yourself. Just explain kind of why coral is so important, not just there, but everywhere.
Yeah, so they're amazing ecosystems. They're very biodiverse. They're often called rainforests of the sea. And despite only actually being around 0.1% of the ocean floor, so a really small area, they're actually home to over 25 to 30% of all marine life. On top of that, they're really important for coastal ecosystems, coastal defence. And so they're actually a $3 trillion industry of the ecosystem services that these reefs offer. 1 billion people rely on them in some way, shape or form for food directly, and obviously things like tourism as well. So whichever way you look at it, corals are important to almost everyone.
So we're seeing these images now. When you look at these images, what are you thinking and what should they be like?
Yeah, so it's very devastating to see. We've actually been witnessing coral bleaching. The first mass coral bleaching was recorded in the 1980s. So this is not really surprising. And scientists have actually been predicting this and showcasing this for many years. Corals act as sort of canaries in the coal mine. They're really important, and we say they're sort of crying out to people now, saying they're in trouble. It's not a death blow. It's not the end. But they're very close to really starting to collapse. And by 2030, in 5 years' time, 90% of reefs around the world are thought to be basically functionally extinct.
90%?
Yeah. So already we're seeing in this recent bleaching event, so this has started in 2023, and it's been one of the longest consecutive bleaching events around the world. 84% of coral reefs are experiencing bleaching already.
You've brought in some examples for us this morning, haven't you? But this particular one, do you want to talk us through this? Because you say that this indicates that the issue with bleaching.
Yeah, so what we have here, in front of us we've got some coral skeletons. So they're dead corals. Coral skeleton is made of calcium carbonate, but effectively limestone, and that's the white skeleton that you see. What you do see with bleaching, though, is it's not dead. So when we talk about bleaching, there actually is this translucent tissue layer associated with it. And this is effectively showing that. Obviously, this is dead itself. It's a preserved specimen, but this is preserved, and these are actually bare skeletons. So this brown tissue would be all over the corals. This is actually a Porites, a massive coral, and they're thought to be more tolerant. And this is, again, something that's relatively unique in what's happening in Ningaloo, is the large tolerant corals, the bleached Porites, are showing these signs of stress, and that's really alarming.
But when you say there are corals that are more tolerant, is that a little bit of hope, maybe? Yeah,
so obviously what we need to do, the response of this is primarily due to things like climate change. So we do need to tackle our carbon footprint first and foremost. There's other more local stresses, so overfishing, pollution, even things like the sunscreen that you actually put on your skin can impact the coral reefs. So there's a lot of things that people can look at, and we can tackle those stresses right from the onset. That's the first thing we do. But science has also shown that we can actually help the corals along in various different ways. So we call it assisted evolution or assisted gene flow, very similar to captive breeding in the past. And it's where you start to either breed thermotolerant corals together or even disease-resistant corals together. And we've actually shown this can be done in the lab and also in the field in places like Palau. And Kate has been showing that this can be done in Ningaloo as well.
And finally, what can people do to help the situation?
So primarily it's tackle your own carbon footprint. A lot of people are waiting for politicians to make those bigger moves, and we need to press on that as well. But you should always reduce, refuse, recycle where possible. So we really need to look at ourselves as well if we want other people to change and stop global warming. So this will be travelling less, this will be not buying in excess, consuming less, and ideally just thinking a little bit more within our realm. That's along the lines of like recycling plastics and things like that. All of it is stepping stones, but all of it does help. And then education as well. So primarily we do quite a lot of education, obviously coming from a university, but we've also written a children's book as well. And it's really getting that next generation to actually understand and be passionate about what we can do and what we can change.
Professor Michael Sweet, thank you very much indeed for coming in. I love the fact that you're based in Derby, landlocked Derby, but coming to talk to us about coral. Thank you.
Thank you very much.